Hello, Puny Podians. This is current day Ryan, or maybe slightly past Ryan, depending on when you're listening to this, what episode it's on the front of. Anyway, David and I have decided that we wanted to share with you some of our favorite content that we make. Our super secret spoiler show. These episodes are typically released via the Ears Up Patreon. However, we figured we're past the Infinity Saga, we might as well grab some of those pin particles, run through the quantum realm, and release these super fun episodes from the past. A few notes before the episode starts. First, we don't have a language filter in these episodes, so Cap, cover your ears. Secondly, as the name implies, these have spoilers for everything up to and including any current releases at the time of recording. One last note, these were recorded about 2 years ago, and they undergo very, very little editing. In fact, the sound quality will kind of be what it is, and you'll kind of hear it change over time as I learn and change. Also, things we say might be a little bit out of date. We don't have Doctor Strange's time stone to be able to go back in time and correct ourselves and know the future. Anyway, I hope that you guys all enjoy this nonsense. And if you want to get these less than 2 years from when we record them, go join the Ears Up Patreon. The link is in the show notes as always. Enjoy the episode.
Thanks for visiting the TVA.
Remember how we start the show.
It's the super secret spoiler show, the super secret spoiler show. It's super secret. It's a spoilery secret super show, a spoilery secret super show. It's secret, super. We've always wanted to chat about the MCU. We've always wanted to spoil Marvel movies for you, so listen to us as we start to nerd out. You'll learn some things you know nothing about. Go grab a beer, lend us an ear. Won't you check our show out?
All right, David, what's up, man? How are we doing this evening?
I am doing fantastic, my man. How are you?
I am doing pretty great. It's a couple days past recording here, so we've sat with this a little bit longer, but definitely ready to talk about some sweet, awesome heightened nationalism in the form of World War II America.
You're gonna let it marinate like a ribeye. Just or another steak that you're gonna like marinate for a while. No, I'm excited for this after show. There's a lot of stuff we couldn't really talk about in the main show because there's a lot of pins, a lot of things to discuss. In terms of what this movie means for the future franchises, for Phase 1, for phases afterwards. So I'm excited to jump into it.
Awesome. All right, well, before we get started, let's get into some beers. What are you drinking over there tonight, David?
All right, so I'm going to share a very quick story. I went to my local beer supplier, place in Oakland, California, and they've got a cabinet full of scores of beers, over 100 beers. And I am looking for, I've quickly picked up on okay, let me just find something that's consistent with the theme. I'm looking for anything with Red Skull, Shield, wintertime. I'm looking for, frozen in ice. And I'm just hoping that I can find something that I could loosely tie together, and that B, it's not going to be some and a Belgian sour, right? It's going to be something I actually want to drink. And so I found something. It is called The End of Maybe. And The End of Maybe is it is an Imperial double hazy IPA put out by Santanderes Rustic Ales, which is a fantastic brewery in the Santa Cruz area. And The End of Maybe, the reason I grabbed this one is because this movie was the end of asking the question, maybe this whole MCU thing will work. At this point in time,
Hey.
it works. They have determined, I think this is the film where they realize we have it. We have a path forward. We have a phase one, but this is going to work. So, pop it
Nice.
open. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer called Barman Pilsner, and let me read the story from the side. In 1847, Adolf Coors was born in the small European town of Barmen, where he learned the old ways of brewing crisp, clean German lagers that left no room for air but plenty for celebration. In honor of his unrelenting passion for pristine beers that brought friends together, we give you Barmen Pilsner. First served on tap over 20 years ago, 7 minutes at a time, this Colorado legend gives you the chance to experience beer as the original style intended. So, grab a glass, pour slowly, and cherish the experience. It's a it's a pilsner with a German name on it, so I thought
I like it. I like it. I would appreciate it if you had done the review with your notoriously good German accents. This Pilsner was first branded by Adolf Coors, no relation to the other one. And then, no, just kidding. Sorry.
This also, it's exploding on me all over my recording desk.
It's fine.
Oh, dang.
It's fine.
Entertain the people, David.
All right, so it is. So this one, a very solid. I'm not a huge double hazy IPA fan. It's pretty good. A little pineapple, it's a little juicy, which is not normally my taste. But like I said, when you're desperate and you're trying to connect any kind of canned beverage to a Marvel MCU movie, I get there. There's one of the beers is called like the green thing. I'm like, God damn it, why couldn't I have found that for the Hulk? There's another one which makes reference to a hammer. I'm like, shit, where were you like 2 weeks ago? Like, so but this one is pretty solid. Like I said, I don't always love a hazy IPA, but this one's good.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, you gave me a little bit of time here to clean up my desk.
I can kill a lot of time. So this is our super secret spoiler show for those who subscribe to the Patreon page. Brian and I get together and we talk about things that we don't like to talk about on the main show. So we like to spoil future movies, random speculation. There's going to be some cursing. There's a little bit of drinking. I'm happy to be doing this on an evening as opposed to like on a Sunday morning when we offer record, because I feel like a degenerate popping open a double IPA at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But we don't do that today. Today we are like, proper gentlemen drinking at nighttime. So
There we go.
this will be, I was very much, when I was looking at the movies in the first phase, I was very much looking forward to this one because, as I mentioned before, the MCU is starting to take shape, even though this movie did not make a ton of money. It made a lot of money as a World War II film, and even more so, like cemented certain characters in the MCU that we see in future films. So obviously,
Absolutely.
Chris Evans as Captain America is the kind of the principal one that we will see in future movies. But I really, really, on watching this, I enjoyed this movie much more than my first time.
Yeah, that's super fair. I thought it was really it's it is genuinely a good movie. And you'll hear us make a lot of jokes at the expense of like toxic patriotism and some of those pieces. And I will at least say I am not a very much of a rah America kind of guy. As I'm sitting here in a Bud Light hat because that was actually the original plan, was to get the most American beer that I could find to have for this one, but
Bud Light's not good, man.
you'll have to settle with a hat.
Bud Light is Bud Light is not good, my man. Like, I don't know. You get to a certain point in life. I remember I used to live in Colorado. I remember going on like rugby playoffs one year, and we're going to like after the match, we're going to the store to get beer to drink in the pool, and somebody's like grabs a suitcase of Natty Light, and I'm just like, dude, can we just like pitch in a few bucks more and just get something drinkable? Like, no, all due respect to Natty Light, but so yeah, I'm glad you got a real beer. So
That's fair. And I will say this beer is definitely brewed by Coors. I am nearly certain it's not much more than just a Coors Banquet in a different can.
yeah, that's whatever. Fine.
But and it also, after spilling, I am concerned about its how good it's going to be here, like spoilage wise. It was a donation by my parents to our adult Easter egg hunt that I did. So we'll see. It'll be a fun experiment. And if I die, somebody else edit this, please.
We'll do it live.
Exactly. But yeah, and because of current events and whatnot, I find it important to say that while Bud Light may not be a good beer, you know what? I stand by them. So
Fine.
and the choices they make.
So let's get into the episode, or the movie, I should say,
Let's
not the
do it.
episode. There was a lot. So I want to ask you let me ask you this on rewatch. And again, we're not going to repeat the stuff in the main show. We're just going to focus on kind of principally things that are kind of a little spoilery, things there will be maybe a couple things we didn't cover in the main show. But what was, when watching it again and knowing what the MCU looks like for the rest of phase 1 and beyond, what was there anything that really caught your attention as you rewatched it?
That's an interesting question. I think something that caught my attention, that I think we have lost the thread on a little bit, is the sensitive Steve Rogers.
Interesting.
We still have some of it, obviously, right? Like, obviously, the end of his arc, he goes back to Peggy and all that good stuff, but I don't. I think Steve Rogers, and it makes sense in context too, right? Because he's been frozen for 70 years and then comes back to a world that's way more messed up than the one he left. And I think he hits on that.
Which is hard to imagine, since you're talking about like
Oh,
middle of World War II or near the end of World War II.
yeah.
To think that it's even more fucked up than then is wild.
Yeah. And I think he touched on that in one of the movies. At some point he talked about how much the world hasn't gotten better, and so I get it. But yeah, I think, like, there's the scene where he's drawing himself as a monkey, a dancing monkey, and that sort of
Yep.
thing. And I think we lost the thread on that a little bit. As the MCU progressed, he became a little bit more. I don't want to say himbo-y. He's not really. He doesn't have like the same energy as like Thor or anything, but just not quite as uh as sensitive, I would say.
Okay. I
How about yourself?
I was what the thing that really struck me about the movie rewatch is it definitely feels. So there were a few things. It definitely feels much different than the last couple we watched. The Iron Man movies were very actiony, a lot of CGI, a lot of humor. Thor felt a little bit more like a Hamlet play. Again, really liked the story and the characters, and there were a lot of things that I really liked about the movie. Incredible Hulk was a movie that I watched, and then after that, Captain America. The thing I liked about it, it felt very different. Um, I think this is, and again, we'll kind of get into a little bit about this is a very well done origin story. It's a very good World War II story. I, like you, tend not to share like a lot of, rah-rah American sentiment as it relates to, kind of modern times. But you can imagine back in World War II, it's a much different feel. And so
Absolutely.
how, I was struck by Steve Rogers as the character, his earnestness. In watching it, however many times I've seen it for the podcast, struck by the his unknowing audition or his unknowing interview to be eligible for the super secret soldier serum. I completely forgot that he was eligible for the program, but he wasn't necessarily like, hey, you're the dude. There's other people that are in the running. And so what really struck me when it talks about his character, he volunteered just to go into the war, just to get into the military, just to get into the art, just to get into serve his country. He wasn't even like, hey, I want to be the juiced up dude in the stretchy khakis. Like that, he didn't like that was just he was just getting his foot in the door. And that really that struck me on rewatch.
Yeah. That's super fair. That piece, I think yeah. This is a genuinely good movie, and we talked about this on the Monthly Bugle a little bit, where like box office doesn't necessarily correlate to quality of movie, because like this this performed poorly at the box office by any measure, right? Like um compared to the rest of the universe, performed poorly. And I don't think that is equal to its quality as a movie.
I think that's fair. I think, as we talked about before, I don't think it's really hard to measure. It's really hard to measure the success, finger quote success of a movie. Oftentimes, it is based on critic reviews. It is based on Rotten Tomatoes. It's based on how much money you make and all that stuff. You multiply them together, divide by 3, and that's your success metric, if you will. But you can't do that anymore. It's the way in which we consume this content is changing quite a bit, and and doesn't even reflect things like podcasts, YouTube series, and other things which are devoted to kind of reviewing these things and what do those viewerships draw, and so absent that, I think it's very hard to tell. I think I really enjoyed on rewatch. I really enjoyed Thor. I appreciate it much more on rewatch, and I would say Captain America probably the same. I think Thor had a slightly higher delta just because it had been so long, and there were parts of it, honestly, quite frankly, I had forgotten. But quite a bit. But Captain America, the thing I liked about it, there were so many like Easter eggs and nods and pins and stuff. And so what I like about it is that it stands alone really well. It operates as a standalone movie very well. But it's also a movie that doesn't tell the complete tale because the villain's still around. Captain America is basically alive at the end. And you're kind of left with a cliffhanger of like what happens next. And we know what happens next in terms of the Avengers. But man, so well done. And that's why I say the end of maybe and the beginning of, oh, this shit is going down.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned the villain being alive, right? Because I think for all intents and purposes, until Endgame came out, most people thought that Red Skull was dead, right? Like, yes, we found out that the Tesseract is the space stone, and so there's some teleportation pieces, but
Yep.
I I I at least can speak for myself in saying that I thought, Red Skull was dead at the end of this movie, all the way until he showed up in Endgame. Um, and so, and that's actually, it was funny. I was trying to like dance around that while we were recording because I was like, you know, the ideal, the the listener that we have our spoiler rule out there for that is watching these for the first time. Um, do they actually think that Red Skull's dead at the end of this, or do they know that he teleports? Like, it's interesting.
It's hard to tell. Like, and again, email the show with feedback, and we'll have to answer in a non-spoiler way. But it's hard to tell. Like, I didn't think the Red Skull was dead. I thought it looked like he was transported somewhere else. And unless, and again, as we have talked about before, unless you see the body burned alive and the ashes thrown out into the nether, presume that they're still alive. And that's
Yeah,
kind of how I still felt about him. So he is teleported to Vormir, where we see him in, is it Endgame? No. What's the next movie we see him in? I'm trying to remember.
it's either Infinity War or Endgame. I don't remember where his part takes part. It's in one of those two.
Right.
One of those two parts.
And he's guarding the Soul Stone. So I enjoyed seeing
Yeah,
the Red Skull. I thought the Red Skull was well done. It looked like the
yeah,
comic book. He was scary and creepy, and I thought it was well done. It's a bummer that Hugo Weaving was like, "Hey, man, I'm not sitting through any more of these fucking 4-hour makeup sessions anymore to like get ready for like a 20 minutes of shooting." But
yeah,
he's since been replaced, and it's still good.
yeah, yeah. Definitely like to see that. Yeah.
Can I
The other Easter. Oh,
go
go
ahead?
ahead. No,
No,
you're
go
good.
ahead. Can I tell
The
you?
other. Okay, go. You go, David.
One of my favorite cameos. There's two. I'm going to give one, and then I'm going to shut up and let you talk. Rogers the musical. Super excited. Like we see
Yes.
it. We see it later on. We're going to see it at Disneyland. It's great.
Yeah, I am so sad that I'm missing Rogers the musical. Like so I don't know that I've mentioned this on the podcast, but David and I are going to be in Disneyland literally like a week apart from each other. We're just barely going to miss each other, but I think both of us end up missing Rogers the musical cuz I think it starts in June if I remember right. But um maybe I'll have to figure out a way to get out there for like a weekend or something.
Happy down. But it references the musical that appeared in Hawkeye the series. The Hawkeye, Clint Barton is attending a musical with his children in New York City, in one of the episodes, and they have Avengers, what is basically like the Avengers the musical. And so seeing Rogers the musical kind of reminded me of it, and I really enjoy. I would love to think that they planted that early on. I can't believe they had that much foresight. So
Yeah, I don't
there's
think
no way.
so.
All right. So what was the one you had before I talked over you rudely?
No, you're good. You're good. So two kind of like, I guess two Easter eggs laid in the same Easter egg, which was we talked a little bit on the main show about the Human Torch exhibit in the like Exposition of Tomorrow, which is put on by Dr. Phineas Horton, who Dr. Phineas Horton worked for Victor Timely, who we have now seen in the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
in the form of the after credit scene. On we've seen Timely, I should be specific there. We've seen Victor Timely, who is Kang, one of Kang's variants, that we saw in the after credit scene of Quantumania. So kind of a cool little tie way back in there. And then also I mentioned in the main show, I hinted at this very heavily, and if you are up on the MCU, I have a very hard time believing you didn't pick up on this, but um in the comics, the original Human Torch android um did go on to be reprogrammed and become Vision. Um which obviously the comic or the movies took a different route to get to Vision, with anthropomorphizing um, Paul Bettany's Jarvis,
Mhm.
but yeah, so kind of a cool like double Easter egg that has now tied back in, all in just a throwaway pan shot.
I also like that the name of the character is a throwback to the original name of Marvel Comics, which was Timely Comics, which is fun.
Yeah, super super fun. And you mentioned this during I would be very surprised. I don't know. Maybe not. But I would be a little bit surprised if they had chosen that specific Easter egg to include in this, if they had hired anyone other than Chris Evans, who had played Johnny Storm. I think that was probably at least on someone's mind.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure it was.
hey,
I'm sure it
this
was.
guy played the Human Torch. Here's the other Human Torch.
Yeah, here we are. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Getting as close to having the Human Torch in the Disney, well, what will be Disney Marvel MCU, without having to pay money to 20th Century Fox, right? Like
Yeah.
that's basically what that is. I thought that was a fun little nod.
Yeah, and I remember reading some stuff. I don't think it was in researching this. I think it was in some other context that Disney could have at any point brought in that Human Torch because it it was not the what had been licensed out to 20th Century Fox. Like that man, that's the subject for a whole nother show. Is just the nuances to those licensing agreements. It's wild to me.
Yeah, I can't, dude. I've looked, and if any listener has any connection to any licensing agreements, I am happy to review them. But that's how we almost ended up with Namor in this movie. There were all these characters who were licensed out because that's what Marvel did. They made comic books and they licensed their stuff out for people to make for companies to make toys, and eventually to make, for the most part, not great movies. But
Yeah.
and having, but they held on to a certain number of characters. They basically licensed out all the really good ones, and so they were left with, like, when the dust settles, they're like, all right, what do we have? Can we do the X-Men? No, man, that's gone. Okay, cool. You know what? Everyone loves Spider-Man. Let's do Spider-Man. Ooh, that's gone too. Can we do any of the? Can we do Venom? Nope, nope, nope. Can we do Fantastic Four? And eventually, you're left with, like, okay,
Iron Man.
can we? Let's do Iron. We have Iron Man, right? Like, I would just love to have been in the meetings where they're just going through all the agreements. And I know the part of me I really want to do, I really want to, like, nerd out on sometime, is I would love to talk to the people that were drafting the contract at the time. And if you were to rewind, how would you draft that differently so we wouldn't have had to spend like billions of dollars on Fox to get these properties, Spider-Man, all this other stuff. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, and that's what's so funny too is like I know the Fox contract said like mutants. And that's why Namor gets weird is because he was in the comics the original mutant, and I know that like got into some hot water at some point. I know that then come Age of Ultron, which we'll get there soon, right? We have Wanda and Quicksilver um, who you never could call them mutants because Fox still owned the rights to mutants, and so
Yeah, weak.
it is weird.
Yeah, it's just weak. Like, you know, at least in the comics that I read, there, I mean, they're Magneto's children. Magneto's a mutant.
Right.
They're all mutants. The X-Men are mutants. Like, you are either when it talks about superpowers, it's either you're born with it, i.e., you're a mutant, you ingest something to become powerful, or you develop some sort of technology or something to become powerful, suit or whatever the case may be. And there's a few other variants. So it's not a complete, how you get powerful in the MCU, and they just could not go the mutant route. Like, can't go there at
Yeah.
all. So, um, I was going to ask you, this is just shifting a little bit. This is the other cameo I want to mention, that's tied to the MCU. So there's an actor by the name of Laura Haddock. She played an autograph seeker in the movie. She also played Star-Lord's mother, Meredith Quill, in Guardians of the Galaxy and Galaxy 2. And I guess her character has been retconned to be Peter Quill's grandmother, which I thought was kind of a weird, cool, super nerdy. Like, I was surprised. I on rewatch the second or third time, I recognized, oh, she looks familiar. What else was she in? And then look her up and like, oh, okay, Star-Lord's mother. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because this movie they did that a couple times. So there was that, and I like that, I like that they recognize some of those, like, oh yeah, we had, a highlighted extra, right? It's not like it's somebody just standing in the background. It's specifically somebody who was highlighted.
yeah,
Um and oh yeah, she's part of the canon now as somebody else's, someplace else. Um, they did that also with Jim Morita. So the
hmm
actor who played Jim Morita, Kenneth Choi, um, reappeared as Principal Morita in the Spider-Man standalone movies.
oh, okay,
Um, yeah, and so they have retconned, or I think I don't think they named him Principal Morita originally, but after the fact they have called him Principal Morita, and he's the grandson of Jim Morita.
oh, okay,
Um,
interesting. Did not know that.
yeah, yeah. So, and again, I think it was probably a case of like, oh crap, we cast this guy again. Uh, I guess we better do something with that. I, I, I'm sure that's, you know, it's one of those things where they've drafted up the contract and they're like, oh, you were already in our system. Oh yeah. I don't think it's on purpose or anything, but
Right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, the casting stuff is really interesting, and to see characters, or I'm sorry, actors who have interviewed multiple times to get to the MCU who eventually make it. Some eventually do not make it. Um, I'd be bummed if I'd appeared as, like, I don't know, I'm in the cave in Iron Man 1, and they're considering me later on to be Ant-Man, or like, oh man, sorry,
Yeah.
you were 10 rings guy number 4. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, dude, I just did that for a gig. Really? No, but that hasn't really happened. Um,
Yeah.
can we talk? One of the things what really struck me also in the movie, more so than the other movies, was the relationship that we see between Steve and Peggy. And in my mind, as we talked about before, um, and in Thor and Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, like, of those protagonists, relationships, if you will, like, this seems the most real and earnest, and the most authentic, if you will. Like
It does.
and rewatching it kind of re-emphasized, because we see later on the references to the dance and finding the right partner and this kind of back and forth, this kind of cool stilted awkwardness between these two characters, and deep down knowing like, oh, these are both two really good people that develop this bond for one another. And so I like the compass I mentioned in the main show. I like the compass with Peggy's photo. And I remember in, I think it's Endgame, where Captain America, Steve Rogers, goes back to get, I think it's the Tesseract. You'd think I would know this shit by now, but sorry. And he ends up fighting himself.
Oh yeah,
And
America's ass.
yeah. And at one point in time, like drops it while fighting his former past self. And they both look each other awkwardly. And I love that they do stuff like that. It is something that's not always apparent. It's one of the reasons we do the podcast, but it's not like, I would not have remembered that. But for
Yeah.
rewatching it now, it's like, oh yeah, that's where that came from. And so that stuff is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I mean, it gives us content, right? Those sort of things. But it's also, I think, one of the key features to the MCU, and one of the things that makes it in some sense successful, is because they're good movies on a surface level, right? So you're going to get casual fans, but they also reward the investment of time and the investment
Mhm.
of energy of like looking out for those things. And somebody out there probably really cares about that compass, right? Somebody out there has a cosplay of Captain America and they've made sure that they're carrying that compass, and so when it comes back, um it speaks to that person, and then it also speaks to the nerds like us when we go back and rewatch it. So I think that's something that maybe is undersold for its value in the MCU, is just that like ability for that they have to tell the story as like a cohesive storyline.
Right. Right.
So
Anything else jump out at you on rewatch, or any other pins? I had one more that is super deep cut.
I mean, I know there was the we had the discussion over uh Winter Soldier serum,
Mm-hmm.
or Winter Soldier experimentation.
Yeah,
So
let's
I
talk
guess,
about
yeah, I uh, so what do you think? What's your
that. All right,
what you're
coaster.
good, you're good. This we are like all over the rails on this one.
It's fine. It's after show.
Uh
It's after show.
it
It's funny.
is.
It's funny. It's the lowest amount of like concern for the sound for the product that people are paying for versus the main show, which could have been recorded in a monk's, like I could have it's silent, it's pristine, and here we're like fucking cleaning keyboards and dropping shit. Anyway, I think your question pertains to the Winter Soldier, and
Yeah. So is he super soldiered? Is
yes,
Bucky super soldiered at the time where he falls off the train?
yes, I believe so, almost certainly. Um, the reason I say that is a couple reasons. One, we see him in a couple of movies, and he is the Winter Soldier. We walk up, he's reciting numbers. Now, I wasn't sure if he was reciting. This is the scene where Captain America, Steve Rogers, has gone to look for the 107th. He's freed all the people except for he's looking for Bucky. He ultimately goes into like some sort of like um, um, medical operation room where they're running experiments. He's on this like kind of like he's laid out and he's reciting numbers. Now, it's not the code that he records that someone recites to him and he responds and it turns him into this, super soldier serum maniac, if you will. But I am fully convinced, because it's even been kind of alluded to. He fell off of the train. There is no way for a human being to survive that fall were he not empowered. That's just my own belief. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I mean, obviously it is. So once we get to Civil War, we find out a lot more about the Winter Soldier. Um, we find out a lot more about Winter Soldier. What's the project? I think that's the words I'm looking for. Uh, and we know that Bucky is not the only Winter Soldier, right? Like we know that he's one of several Winter Soldiers um, that the Soviets have created.
We see a lot. We see quite a few, right?
Yeah. Now, I I think it it makes sense to me that he at least has super soldier serum in him. That's so easy to say.
It's not. It's super hard. I fucked up on the main show. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so he has some go-go juice in him. And maybe the Soviets are pulling it out of him, right? Maybe actually, let me spin some yarn here. Maybe he is how the Soviets and Hydra, who's working with the Soviets, get the super soldier serum uh is by pulling it out of Bucky and then replicating it to everyone else. I don't know that was ever explained how the Soviets got that super soldier serum. Um
And it's a little bit of misnomer, because it's not just the serum, right? It's the serum, it's the
sure.
body rays, and some other stuff. But like, um, we see the main ones we see are Red Skull. It didn't work out that well. Bucky, Captain America. I think once we get to like the Winter Soldier, I think it'd be interesting to see, to kind of analyze like how well it worked, because that was the whole reason why the Red Skull it failed, and I think it was Operation Nietzsche. I can't remember what the original name was. I think that's what it was. But it failed because his obsession with power, and his it is the personality, it's the mental, it's that acuity that's behind it. It's not just the physical piece, if you will. Bucky
Right.
seemed to turn out okay. He was just kind of warped and controlled, manipulated. Um, as we see in the next movie, we see Isaiah Bradley, who shows up in Falcon the Winter Soldier. So I really tuned into it more the next time, and when we see it in the Incredible Hulk, that little kind of frozen, cryogenically frozen chamber with what we can only presume is super secret soldier serum. I did it, yes. And it's one of the things I definitely noticed more on rewatch. But yeah, he absolutely was
Yeah.
juiced up when he landed in the water, or when he fell off the train. No question.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting is, looking down the line, right? So you mentioned Isaiah Bradley. We also have Alexi from who was Red Guardian.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. Yep, yep.
you also have the
Black Widow.
the
Yep.
um you have the Flag Smashers from Captain and the Winter Soldier who all got serum. John Walker got serum. But what's interesting, and maybe this is something that was done, I think maybe done intentionally, though John Walker maybe not so much, is they didn't give anybody else Vita rays, right?
Yes.
Like nobody else got the Vita rays.
Right.
Um which I'm a little bit surprised that like John Walker didn't, because like that was a government program.
Right.
So I would have thought, you know, he would have, like, the government knew that, but
I don't know. Erskine never wrote shit down, so it doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
that they're like, "Oh, you need tanning pills and the tanning bed to get tan." Oh, okay, cool. Oh wait, I need PEDs and I need to work out to get like super strong and yoked and powerful. Oh, okay, cool. God, didn't see that part of the equation.
Yeah.
So the only other um the only other thing I noticed, and this is on research. This is not on rewatch because I did not remember at the time. But I guess Camp Lehigh is it the military training camp. We see Captain America. We see him capture the flag. We see him do his training there. And 80 years later, this same site would become the site for Avenger Con for
Yep.
Kamala Khan when in Miss Marvel, and I completely missed that, which I thought was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think maybe they mentioned it in the show. I think Kamala says something like, "Oh, it's um like that's where Captain America trained or something." But it's very much a blink and you'll miss it type of reference. So cool to see it come back for sure. And the other thing that comes back before we move off of like pins and things, um I think one of the more interesting what if episodes is actually a what if that spawns out of this episode. So
Mhm.
the what is set up is um I'm trying to remember the episode right
What
now.
it's what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger?
Yeah, and I believe what happens is in like injection day, I think the Hydra agent from the State Department sets off his bomb early or something and it kills, or it doesn't kill, but it like injures Steve to where he can't take the serum. And so Peggy instead grabs the serum and injects herself and then chases down the Hydra guy. And then from there hijinks ensue. Steve gets a sweet like iron early like really actually really cool Iron Man type suit called the Hydra Stomper, built by Howard Stark. Um and Peggy becomes Captain Carter.
Yep.
She's basically British Captain America. So instead of the star in the middle of her shield, she's got the Union Jack. So it's a really cool what if episode. And then they brought her in to uh, Multiverse of Madness
Yep.
as one of the members of the Illuminati, and she got wrecked. Wanda absolutely wrecked the whole Illuminati. Uh Kind of actually disappointing to me how not long those that whole group of characters lasted, um but yeah, so that was actually really cool. Kind of a pin, I guess. It has some relevance or some sort of relevance to the mainline MCU because it did show up in Multiverse Madness, but yeah, definitely a fun what if. And if you haven't watched What if you're listening to this, you haven't watched What If, I definitely suggest it. Pick the episodes that seem interesting to you because it is, it's not the best storytelling, right? The whole premise is like, what if this one small thing changed? So some of them, like the Captain Carter one, are very much like unplug Steve Rogers and plug in Peggy Carter. So not a lot changes, but some of them a lot more changes. So like one of them is what if T'Challa became Star-Lord, right?
I like that one.
And
It was
so
good.
yeah, it was a really fun one, and I think that one told a lot more of a different version of history, just because it did vary a lot. But
Yeah, they're all really good, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
they're good.
definitely suggest going and checking those out if you haven't already. I don't know if we'll cover those. We'll figure that out. But
Dude,
we
you and
have
I
a
are
couple
we're
years.
gonna be bored on a Sunday, but like, hey man, let's nerd out on the what if series. So
There we go.
all right, let me ask you a question. So this is of the origin stories, this is not a complete list, but of the origin stories that I could off the top of my head recall in the MCU, we've got Iron Man, Hulk, Thor-ish is sort of an origin story, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Captain America. Like, how would you rank this as an origin story?
I don't think this is going to surprise anyone. It's not number one. I think number one is Iron Man. I think Iron Man's first movie is really, really good, really compelling. And it shows him becoming Iron Man really well. I would say probably number two, because Black Widow is one of my favorite MCU movies. I know that's a little bit of a hot take,
Interesting.
but I love Black Widow. But I don't know that I like the origin aspects of it so much.
Yeah.
I like the modern day pieces of it a little bit more. So
Yeah.
I would say this is probably number two for me.
Okay. This would be number one for me. Iron Man's up there. Black Widow is a pretty good origin story, and I would agree with you. It's an underrated movie. I do feel sorry. I feel bad that it came out at a time where we could not really go to movie theaters without potentially dying and breathing in the air, and so it got lost in the Disney Plus shuffle, and the lawsuit between Scarlett Johansson and Disney, blah blah blah. Right, but
and I know I just saw this week ScarJo was in the media somewhere saying that she will never do another MCU project. She said they're basically like big sausage fests, which unfortunately doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I know a lot of actors, specifically like female actors, actresses, like that do not love the MCU stuff. I know she did not like her first appearance in MCU, which was in Iron Man 2, because it was awful and creepy and gross.
Yeah.
But even like Hugo Weaving's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm good. Like, so there's definitely the element where folks are like, I'm good. I'm not gonna do this anymore. There is a book that's coming out. I will find the title and name of it. But that is look like doing the folks that do. Oh God, okay, I'm just gonna look it up now. Joanna Robinson and others writing a book on the MCU. Joanna Robinson is a fantastic podcaster based in Oakland, and has done all sorts of like cool, enthusiastic rewatches, whether it's like Game of Thrones, whether it's Lost, whether it's like the MCU stuff, she's on the Ringer now, and she's doing like a deep dive book on it, and I can't wait to read it because I would love to see kind of how we got to where we are now. So
yeah,
I think that's coming out next year. I think maybe this year.
Nice.
But yeah, it'd be fun.
Nice. Yeah, that should be super fun.
Yeah. All right. So one of the bits that I twisted Ryan's arm on is the facial hair rankings, because and it's not just facial, but the wigs also as well. Some of them in the MCU movies are wild. And in the last movie, it was like, holy shit, it was a smorgasbord of facial hair offering. And this one, it was like, oh man, it's like one dude. This is fucking sad pickings. But
yeah, because we had what, Dugan? Is that the only facial hair?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean Dugan's is fun. I think if I remember right, I gotta look it up.
It is
he's got the like imperial mustache going on. Yeah,
I was trying to think of the actor's name. It is
Timothy.
Neil McDonough. plays in it.
Neil
Yep,
McDonough. Thank you.
Neil
Thank you.
McDonough.
Yeah.
There's no way that thing is real, right?
I would be very surprised if it was real. I know people who have that about that mustache. I actually have about that mustache if I were to shave off my beard. Um, and so like it could exist. I don't think it would have existed on Neil McDonough in
No,
this or in this movie.
no. That was clearly a rental. That no, I thought this is a very sad, probably one of our saddest. Although Avengers, there's not a lot of facial hair in the Avengers either. Like they kind of clean that up quite a bit, which is
Yeah.
kind of a bummer.
I do have to say it is a really good mustache. Like I don't want to sell it short. I want to like give it some props. Like yes, it's likely fake. But it's full. Like they did a good job of making it full. In my competitive bearding days, I knew a lot of people who did a lot of fake mustaches. That was uh there's a whole category called whiskerinas. Look it up
wait,
if you're ever bored.
wait.
Um,
Hold on a sec. How do you have like? So when you again, this is gonna be a tangent. You mentioned fake mustaches. Like I'm gonna compete in a competition, and my facial hair is not real. Like it's like affixed. It's glued on.
yeah,
It's
so
like a
there's
it's like a facial merkin.
so there is a category depending on what competition you're at and that sort of thing. It's either called whiskerinas or creative beard. Um and it's expanded a lot. So the first time it appeared at World Beard and Mustache Championships was actually 2017 in Austin. It's an American creation, so beard competitions, beard clubs are actually a German creation, and are really actually super popular in Europe. They're actually really big in Europe. And when the Americans started doing this whiskerina thing, which is it started with women or femme presenting folk who could not otherwise grow a beard, creating their beard, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. There's Marvel ones out there I've seen. It's crazy, and there's some phenomenal work. There's some ladies out there. There's one lady out of Utah. She literally welded a dragon together that breathed fire. That was her beard for a whiskerina competition. And so
And, li-
there are mustache categories of whiskerina.
and little known fact, that same dragon caught on fire at Disneyland yesterday. R.A.P. Phantasmic for. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's wild, dude. All right, so I've a
But
thousand questions
the
on that,
reason
but
why
I'm
I was
not going to
talking
ask
about
them
the
all.
Germans, well, the reason why I was talking about the Germans there is the Germans gave the Americans a lot of shit. They're like, we started beard clubs to get away from our wives. Why would you invite them in? Um, and so it, yeah, it definitely, like I say, if anybody listening to this is like, what is this world of bearding? There is a documentary. It bounces around from streamer to streamer to streamer. It doesn't talk about whiskerinas, so not super prevalent to what we're talking about here. But if you're ever curious, there's a docu series called Whisker Wars. I know I have met everybody who's in that is in the first season. The second season is not available anywhere ever. The only version of it I know of is on DVD at Arnie Bielefeld's house, and it's not like a thing of legend. It's just no streamers have ever picked it up. Um, but yeah, if you're ever curious about that world, go watch Whisker Wars. Like I say, it bounces around from streamer to streamer. It was on Netflix at one point. It was on Prime Video at another. Google it. I'm sure you can find it. But yeah.
So it sounds like it's like the Topher Grace edited version of the Star Wars prequel that exists, but unless you and I know Topher Grace, we're not going to see that. And unless I know your buddy, I'm not going to see season 2. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I should also mention weird other tie-in to the network. About the only person from Whisker Wars that I don't know is Jack Passion, who he's kind of the villain of the first episode or first season. Weird tie-in to the Ears Up network. Jack Passion dated one of Taryn's like best friends.
What?
So yeah. um so just a weird like side tie-in that I think we were on a walkabout talking about it or something, and Taryn was like, yeah, my like best friend dated Jack Passion. I was like, oh, huh, weird.
That's the musician beard guy, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even look. I'm looking at photos right now. It doesn't even look real. Like, it's like down to his like. Well, this one is like it's down to his belly button.
There's the guy who won in 2017 at the longest like natural category. It's not whoever has the longest wins, but when I say the longest natural category, I mean like it at Worlds. I think there were 5 different natural categories, and the last one is like 24 inches plus. He was down to his knees. Like his beard was down to his knees.
Are they drug testing his beard? Are they did he give his beard super secret soldier serum, give him some Vitarays, lay in the chamber, and it was like it was maybe like a little scruff like me, and then he comes out and it's
Just
like bam, check this shit out.
yeah.
Like it's like that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a wild world, and I would say definitely if you are ever curious, if you're like this seems wild, go watch it. It's very dramatized. I will say the show is very dramatized. They play up the storylines a lot. Like knowing the people that are in it. There's definitely a lot of like reality TV cut to make sure that it's something that's interesting, but yeah. Anyway, we were on facial hair with Captain America. Oh, David, you're muted. The
Oh,
old
sorry.
trope.
The old
I'm
trope.
not gonna edit it out this time.
No, it's fine. I even noted I did that, and because I coughed. The it's just one of one, so there isn't much drama there. It's like whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
All it out. We might do for one of the things we talked about doing is we're definitely gonna do a review of the Phase 1. We're kind of look back retrospectively, and we're kind of figuring out what the different elements will be, but kind of really to kind of drop on what's important, tie things together, characters, villains, heroes, etc. We might do a facial hair ranking, maybe not, but that is still TBD because we are one movie away.
We are.
We are,
And I'm very excited. Like, not to get ahead of ourselves too far because I know we still have one more bit for the secret show before we wrap up. But man, I am so excited to go back and watch Avengers again.
What was your response when you saw the
Oh,
trailer? Honestly,
I was hyped.
I got fucking goosebumps, and I'm a goddamn
Dude.
55-year-old man, and I've seen that movie 100 times. And even watching it was like, yes, right on, man.
Yeah. I was pretty fucking hyped. I'm really excited. The only thing I'm nervous about is like watching it with 2023 eyes that knows the drama that was going on set. I hope that like I can set that aside for the 2 hours that it takes to watch the movie.
What do you mean,
Because I
like
know Joss
creative
Whedon
stuff? Oh, Joss Whedon. Okay,
Joss Whedon
yeah,
being a sexist douchebag.
yeah,
Um
yeah,
but yeah, I otherwise very very excited.
yeah. I am too. I think that We saw the first glimpse of it. Was it Iron Man? No. What was the one where we see the consultant? That was the Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Nick Fury come to Iron Man in the post-credit scene on Iron Man.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to the next one. We think we're going to have a very special guest. It's like Chris Evans hasn't confirmed yet, but if he does, he will be on it. If it's not, it's going to be another very good friend of the podcast. But yeah, I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
I
them.
I think we will finally complete our bingo card of being on the Ears Up podcast network, and our guest might help us do that.
Yeah, no, we will not spoil it further. All right, so it has been a month. We have. It's been a long time, man, since I've asked this question. What you are in charge of casting this movie? I come to your office and say, "Hey, man, my buddy Nicolas Cage has to be in this movie, no matter what." You have to cast Nick in a role. It could be a big role. It could be a small role. Who do you pick and why?
Oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because as much as I would love to see him try a German accent, I don't know that that's the right pick. That any of the Germans would have been the right pick.
No, he would.
I
He brings a comedic kind of chaos and Al Pacino kind of intensity that I think you got to almost tuck it away for this film a little bit, right?
yeah, and that's I'm going with a less comedic turn, right? Like he I think he would have brought something different to this role. And I am going to cast him as Colonel Phillips.
God damn it, that was mine. Okay, shit. No, I agree with you. That's the first and obvious choice. He could still bring fuck man. I thought I was gonna sink that one through. Shit. Okay. No, but he would have brought it would have been a different element. It would not be Tom Lee Jones, who's Tom Lee Jonesing it all the time. It would have been he could still be like the kind of the angry, slightly comedic, little gruff dude gets to shoot a laser cannon later on in the movie. Like he would be ecstatic. Dude would be so happy.
Yeah, like I say, I think it would be funny to see Nick Cage in like Red Skull.
It'd be too much.
Just as but way too much. And I can't replace Stanley Tucci. I just
Nope.
You can't get rid of that man. He's a gem.
Well, because you took the best choice off the board, I am going to choose to cast America's Treasure, Nicolas Cage as Howard Stark, Dominic Cooper. Right?
Okay.
So it still allows him to cook. He has a little charismatic moments at different points of time in the movie. He's kind of the mad scientist,
and he gets to fondue it.
He gets to fondue, or he almost fondues it. That's that. You'd have to go to him and say, "Hey, Nick, my man, we're going to let you cook in the next Avengers movie because you're going to be in every single MCU movie, just like Stan Lee, right? But this one, you need to tone it down. I know you want to come in like a 7 or an 8 or maybe 9. I need you to turn down to like a 2.5, maybe a 2. And so if it's me and I'm casting him, I'm feeding him all decaf. I am filming scenes after he wakes up from a nap, just so he's kind of semi-groggy. If I need to feed him a tranquilizer to kind of calm him down, that's what I'm going to do. But I would choose. No, I'm just kidding. But for me, how Howard Stark would be one where, okay, it's a fun little nod, but he's not going to fuck up the movie because he's going to be a maniac. So
Yeah. The other area I thought of him was any of the Howling Commandos probably would have also been a fun fit.
Yeah,
Um,
if they had a bigger
maybe a
role.
Dum Dum Dugan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they had a bigger role, if they were a more featured, prominent role in the movie. But I couldn't do him as Bucky. Couldn't do him as like God. No, couldn't do him as Captain America. Agent
Hey, he
Carter.
was almost Superman, so
Dude, that suit still to this day cracks me up. We'll have to find photos and figure out a way to share them, maybe in the Discord.
yeah.
Like, it's wild. Anyway, so I appreciate you
Yeah.
indulging me on that very important question.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Well, I think that is all of our super secret show content. If you're listening to this, it means that I actually edited it and got it out. I apologize. At the time of recording, I have not edited Thor's super secret show even yet. Just got really behind on it with work and some other stuff. So look for that to come out very, very soon. Look for both of our shows that are part of our feed, both the Monthly Bugle and then our review shows. Everywhere. Come hang out with us on Discord. I genuinely mean it. I feel like I'm like shouting into the void sometimes on the Marvel group. So come hang out with us there. I might be doing something with the walkabouts. I might be on the Pyramid, the Eye of the Ear coming up here soon for you Patreon folks. Yeah, there's a lot of maybes right now, but yeah, definitely thank you again. Genuinely, I would have never guessed in my life that somebody would pay me to talk about Marvel shit, and here you guys are paying us to talk about Marvel shit. So thank you so much. Every single person who is hearing this know that from genuinely from the bottom of our hearts we appreciate it. Send us an email, punypod at earsup-podcast.com, if you want stickers. Like, I will, if you want something physical for your subscription, please just tell us. We will ship it out. So
or we'll hand deliver it if we're close by. We'll just stop by
yes,
your house. It's cool.
there you go. We won't say whether it'll be stuck on like your front window or something, but we'll hand deliver it. Um, but no.
No, but we appreciate
Thank
you
you
all.
guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and use your Etsy code to get our merch at a discount. Do that too. But cool guys. Well, thank you all again for listening to a super secret spoiler show. I can say that easier than super secret soldier serum. So thank you guys. Definitely appreciate you all, and we will talk to you again next time. Bye.